All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back from winter break. Hope you had a safe and relaxing winter break before the semester starts. My name is Alexis Gomez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work in the Career Center as a career education coordinator. So essentially, if you have questions regarding career, professional development, I'm your person, and I'll leave my contact information at the end of the presentation. But questions about resume, cover letter, interviewing, negotiation, exploring careers, exploring majors, graduate school, knowing your rights, all of those things. And so I am the liaison for AAC. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit quickly about resumes and some tips, tricks, things to include, things to think about while you're creating your resume as you're searching for jobs, as you're applying for grad school, et cetera, et cetera. One thing I do like to say about resumes is that they're pretty subjective. So every person that you meet will have some form of opinion or saying of what you should put on your resume. And so, which is helpful and not helpful, right? And so I want to make sure that you have just things to consider, but ultimately it's going to be up to you what you want to put on your resume. For example, some people are like, put your education at the top when you graduate. Some people are like, put it at the bottom. Right, that's going to be a preference, and each person is going to have their own opinion about it. But ultimately, you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. So let's go over some resumes. I'm going to go in like each section how we would like traditionally, or how would we recommend for you to write your resume. But again, it's up to you what order you're going to want to do it in. But we'll give you, I guess, the reasoning why we like it in this order as well. So for the header is essentially your name and contact. It's the simple one that I think we all are aware of. I don't know why it's like that. So you're going to have your name at the top. What's really important here is having your name as the largest font. I've seen folks having their name like the same font as everything else, and that doesn't make it stand out. We want to make sure that this is your resume. So putting your name at the top. The location that you're in, if you are planning to work for the government resumes want you to have your full address on there. But for outside of federal jobs, you can just put city and state. Making sure you have your phone number. And as a quick reminder, set up voicemail. I definitely have had my voicemail either full or I didn't set up my voicemail, and employers have tried to contact me and they couldn't. And so they sent me an email and it was super embarrassing. So make sure to update your voicemail settings in that case. And then some other things that are to consider, but are optional. This is not something that you need, is either a profile or URL. So maybe you are a graphic designer, right? It makes sense to have your website up so people can see your work, or your LinkedIn account. I have mixed feelings about this because we always tell people don't put your photo on your resume because it could potentially lead to bias. And so if you put your LinkedIn account, it also has access to your photo if you have a photo on your LinkedIn. So again, this is optional if you want to put this in or not, but for sure your contact information, because that's how they're going to contact you. Okay, so next is something we recommend is the first heading or the first section in your resume is a qualification section. So a qualification section is a bullet point list, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 bullet points on how you meet the qualifications for the job. This is really nice for employers because it tells me, oh, you meet the qualifications for the job, you can move on to the next round. That's what a resume is. A resume determines whether or not you meet the qualifications and you make it to the next round. So if you lay that out at the very beginning in 3 to 6 bullet points, you have a higher increase and chance for you to make it to the next round. So this is an example of a qualification section. This person had 2 years of customer service experience. I'm assuming the next job they're applying to is also a customer service experience position. And at the bottom here, it talks about certain, I think this person is a computer science major. So talking about different languages that they know that's probably required of them. Here's another example of a qualification section. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the job posting. Sometimes they have a bullet point list of minimum requirements and preferred requirements, and it gives you a list. And then on what you're going to do is you're going to read it. Typically, the most important things are at the top of that section. So you need this certain degree, or you need this many years of experience, whatever. That's going to be at the top. And then the less important things are going to be lower in the bullet point section. So for you on your resume, you're just going to try to mirror, not copy and paste the job posting or the requirements on the job posting, but mirror it. So for example, here on the left, it says understanding of student development theory and first year transitional issues. And so on the right-hand side, I put on my resume a specific theory. Like I didn't just say, I know theory about first year students. I wrote a specific theory that they, in my opinion, should be aware about. So I'm demonstrating how I meet the qualifications for the job. Looks really impressive. So I also get this question a lot. Is a qualification section same as a skill section? So sometimes I see this on resumes where it says skills and then like just a bullet point list of things that like general things that you know are good at: customer service, problem solving, leadership. However, employers have told us time and time again that this section is not helpful. So don't do it. And so things that you can do is like in your bullet points, in your experience, you can say like strong problem solving skills by, and then giving an example. Just listing that you have leadership skills actually doesn't tell me that you have leadership skills. So I recommend taking the section out. However, if there are like languages, like if you're a computer science major, if you're an engineer major, you can have a bullet point of the list of languages that you know, but only write them down in your qualification section if it's required. Like, so you have to go back to the job posting. It says you need to know Python, you need to know GIS systems, whatever, you can put that in your qualification section in one bullet point, just to demonstrate that you do know those languages or you do know those systems and computer systems. Okay, next. Okay, and the next is an education section. So education section, some things I like to point out is to spell out your degree. So as I see people say MFA in arts, BS in business, spell out bachelor. Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, spell out your degree. Or I also see like MS, which stands for Master of Science. Not everyone knows those acronyms, so it looks more impressive when you spell it out. And then I also see folks highlighting where they got their degree first. So they'll say Colorado State University, and then the second or third line is their major, and they like bold Colorado State University. Reverse it. Like claim your progress and claim your degree, not the institution that you went to. This document is about you. So put your bachelor's degree at the top and minor second, and then where you went to school. On the right-hand side, that's where I recommend adding like expected graduation rate or the year that you graduated. And then you can include your GPA. This is another thing where some people are going to say, don't put it on or put it on. I would say if you want to put your GPA and it's above a 3.0, then you can put it on your resume. And then I always recommend after your first job after graduation, you can take it off. Again, but that's a preference. Some people like to have their resume or their GPA on, and some people don't. And then again, where to put your minor in concentration, it's going to be below your degree. And then if you went to different universities, so I recommend if you studied abroad, you can put your study abroad info here. If you have a bachelor's degree somewhere else, if you have an associate's degree from a community college, you would put that in as well. Again, that's preference. If you transferred to a lot of different schools, but didn't get a degree there, I would leave those out because it's just taking space from your resume. We just want to know where you're currently going to school or where you got your degree. All right, so next is the experience section. And this is like the book, right? This is like the meat of the substantial part of your resume. So what experience counts and what do you put in your experience section is essentially everything that is relevant to the job that you're applying to. So some people say, well, I did a lot of unpaid work or volunteer work. I don't have any paid experience doing stuff economics or accounting wise, but I volunteered a lot out of all these places. Like I volunteered to like help people with taxes and stuff. Do I put that on? And I say, yes. So paid experience, unpaid experience, formal, informal, volunteer, and even class and projects and labs, because those count as valuable experiences that you've learned and you've gained that you can transfer into outside of the university. And then these are transferable skills. So I just like to briefly mention this, even though you have worked or volunteered at a place where it might not seem related to what your major is or the field that you want to go into, but I guarantee you there are transferable skills. You've learned leadership skills, you've learned communication skills, you learned how to be detailed oriented, you learned how to take initiative in other jobs. It's just how to word it on a resume to make people understand that, oh, like this is connected, even though I worked in a coffee shop. How does that translate into marketing? There are ways that we can write it down. And that's a good time for you to set up an appointment if you are struggling with that. So this is an example of work experience. I just want to reiterate to highlight your position. People care more about your position than where you've worked. So like if you were a peer mentor, if you were a marketing coordinator, like whatever it is, highlight that first. And then what's secondary is where you worked. And then what's still important, but the least important is the location of it. And then on the right-hand side is the times you've worked there. I recommend having at least 3 bullet points for each experience that you have. Here's some examples of also involvement or volunteer experience. I've had people, and this is the beauty of a resume, you can tailor the headings to whatever your liking is. Some people, I've advised folks to be like, maybe just type in leadership position instead of volunteer, because leadership sounds a little bit more elevated. So you get to tailor the headings to your liking and what makes sense. And then here's an example of class projects and presentations. So you can have, this could be under relevant experience. You can have this as a separate heading or section that says relevant projects. You're going to name the project, either your class office already named the project or you have to create a name for it, and then write 2 to 4 sentences about what you did and what skills you gained. This is a good example, but I honestly would have put more. These are the skills I gained, communication skills, or like working with a diverse team. I've learned to et cetera, et cetera. So this is where you really get to translate all of the work that you did in the classroom and how it will show up outside of the classroom. All right, so this is our bullet point formula to create the bullet points for your experience. So the bullet point formula is action verb, a skill set, and result, accomplishment, or purpose. A lot of people just stick to the first two, so action and skill set. So I bus tables or I cleaned tables, right? That's the verb and the skill set. But the result, I like to emphasize the result or accomplishment or purpose. So a result could be like more numbers oriented for those of you who are in accounting or have like more specific results. So it's like I increased Instagram engagement 15%, like that would be a result. But for those of you who are working with people, it's hard to put a number with how you make impact, right? And so I always recommend either putting the purpose or an accomplishment of the thing that you've did. So for example, I've been working with a lot of peer mentors. And so I ask them, like, what do you do as a peer mentor? Oh, I meet with 5 students a week, first year students a week. And then I was like, okay, well then, but what's the purpose of that? And then they're like, oh, the purpose of it is to, is to help transition first year students to the university and to make them feel like belonged. And so that's something that they would put at the end of their bullet point. So it gives the employer like a holistic view of what you've done. So going through these bullet points, so the first one is assist, train, provide. The skill set is checking in students, 100 students every hour. This one was train new employees. And this one was answering phones and assisting new technology errors. But the end of these bullet points is the result, accomplishment, or purpose. So this person checked in over 100 students every hour, and they said they developed skills to succeed in a fast-paced working environment. That tells me that they are applying for a job where they would have to work in a fast-paced working environment, and they're trying to demonstrate that. And then this one's like using strong communication skills. Again, I'm assuming that strong communication skills is something that the employer is looking for, and that's why they wrote it down here. And then this one's a little bit wordy, but essentially they're saying like, I did such a good job, I was recognized by my boss. So that's the accomplishment piece here. So that's something that I recommend. I know the result can be intimidating, like, well, I just did this because I had to do this in my role. And then just reframe it in what's the purpose of the role, or what's the purpose of the task that you did. Lastly, for those of you who are going into academia, a curriculum vitae or CV is just a different, longer resume. So if you want someone to look at your CV, we also do that as well. So in summary, you want to tailor your resume to each job description. And then how that's really going to stand out is that qualification section at the top, where you mirror the job posting and your qualification section. Something I forgot to mention is that people look more closely at the first third of your resume. So your contact information and your qualifications, potentially your education or your first experience at the top of your resume is the thing that they look at most. Resume should be 1 to 2 pages with the exception of research jobs or academia. And then I want you to emphasize, this is like one of a rule that y'all should go by, but either 1 full page or 2 full pages, no 1.5, 1 1/3, either 1 full page or 2 full pages. So the point is, if you had 2 pages, I printed it, it would still be 1 page because it would be double-sided. Again, reemphasizing that qualification section at the top is really important and impressive. Make sure your qualifications mirror the job description you are interested in. Avoid a skill section. We talked a little bit about why. It doesn't tell us much. on your skills. And then just in general, create sections. So your experience, leadership, class projects, etc. And then 3 to 4 bullet points for each position or volunteer opportunities. Use your bullet point formula, which is action, verb, skill set, result, accomplished, or purpose. And then some people forget about this. I forget about this too until I started working here, but past jobs in past tense and current jobs in present tense. That seems super obvious, but you'll be surprised. Go back to your resume and see that if you didn't do this. It's a little thing that a lot of people miss. So that is it for resumes. If you have more questions, we have drop-in hours at the Career Center. If you go to our website, just type in CSU Career Center, there's a little chat box. You can set up an appointment there. We have drop-in virtually and in person, or you can go to the Career Center, which is in the Laurie Student Center on the bottom basement floor, or you can set up appointments with myself. And my contact information will be somewhere on this website. Not sure yet. Cool. Well, I hope y'all have a good spring. And yeah, have a good spring.